Hello, I'm Troy, the president of the Fright Meter Awards, and today I'm going to discuss with you our 2013 Best Actress in a Leading Role nominees. Last week I posted my commentary on our Best Supporting Actor and Actress categories, so today I'm going to do the same with our Best Actress category, a very tough category here. Um, a reminder that the 2013 Fright Meter Award winners are going to be announced live at Pensacon in Pensacola, Florida on February 22nd. Very excited about that. Just the exposure and the opportunity to present these awards live for the first time is great for the Fright Meter Awards. So definitely looking forward to that and what the kind of the future holds for the awards. Um, so I want to get right into to discussing the Best Actress category because I think it's a strong category. And I think that there is such a variety of different types of performances represented here. So we're going to look at our 2013 nominees. Our first nominee is Jane Levy for her performance in Evil Dead. Second nominee, Catherine Isabelle for her performance in American Mary. Third nominee is Mia Wasikowska for her performance in Stoker. Our fourth nominee is Vera Farmiga for The Conjuring. And finally, rounding out our Best Actress nominees, Sharni Vincent for her performance in You're Next. So which one of these five young ladies is going to win our Fright Meter Award for Best Actress for 2013? I can tell you, whoever wins is going to join an impressive lineup, an impressive group of winners from the past. I think this category has given us some great winners in the past. Last year, Gretchen Lodge won for her performance in Lovely Molly. Just an incredible breakthrough performance from her. The year prior, Pollyanna McIntosh won for her performance in The Woman, a non-speaking role, but she brought so much ferociousness to that role that it just almost bled off screen. She didn't have to say anything, and it was just a brilliant performance. Chloe Grace Moritz won for You Let Me In a couple years back. Isabel Fuhrman won for her performance in Orphan. So this winner is going to join an impressive lineup here. So let's get started with discussing our nominees, their strengths, weaknesses, perhaps. Who has a strong chance of winning? Well, any of the five nominees, I think, have a strong chance of winning. So let's start with Jane Levy. Jane Levy for her performance in Evil Dead. She plays Mia. I know that when the Evil Dead remake was announced, a lot of horror fans were up in arms, as is the case with any remake that gets announced. I'm indifferent to remakes. I think there are some great remakes out there. I'm not a horror fan that gets up in arms when I hear a remake is coming, but I know that when the Evil Dead was announced that it was being remade, just, people, horror fans of the original just threw a fit. Add icing to that cake was the fact that when it came out that there was going to be no Ash character, that the Ash character was going to be written out of the remake, and instead you were going to have, as your hero, actually heroine, you were going to have a drug addict, female. So I know I just remember reading on the internet comments, message boards, just fans just blasting that decision. But I actually think it was a good decision by the filmmaker, simply because no matter, Ash is such an iconic role in to horror fans, especially fans that grew up in the 80s and just love the 80s horror, that no matter who they cast in that role, except if it was Bruce Campbell himself, which wasn't going to happen, no matter who they cast, fans would have thrown a fit and just bashed whoever they ended up casting. So I think it was a wise decision for them to write that character out and instead bring in a new character. And that's Jane Levy's character. And what I really like about Jane Levy's performance, I'm going to get this out in the open right now, is this is a very demanding, physically demanding performance by her. And I think when we watch these types of movies, it's very easy to overlook the difficulty of a particular role. I don't think casual moviegoers don't look into the difficulty of a role in a film like Evil Dead. And if you think about Jane Levy's performance in The Evil Dead, she really has three different character types that she's playing. When the film starts, she's your drug addict going through an immense withdrawal. And she nails that. You can believe her. You can believe her when she's having the withdrawal symptoms and is really just desperate to get a hit. And then the middle of the film, her character is the possessed demon character, and so she plays that role. And at the end of the film, you have your kick-ass Bruce Campbell-like performance by her because she's fighting the demons to stay alive. Even though I don't think her character is anything like Bruce Campbell's character. What I like with this Evil Dead remake and with her performance is there's no comedy to this at all. The first original Evil Dead was a horror comedy film. Okay, Jane Levy's performance has no comedic tones to it like Bruce Campbell's did, and the film certainly is not a horror comedy. This is a strict horror film, and I think that fans should at least appreciate that they were trying to get the filmmakers were trying to instill horror back into this this franchise. Okay, so when you look at Jane Levy's performance as being really three different facets of character, I think that makes her performance even that much more impressive to be able to pull off these three different character types: the drug addict going through withdrawal, the demon, and the girl fighting for her life. And at the end of the film, you can root for her, even though she's not the most likable character at the beginning of the film. You can root for her. You want her to. I think when I saw the film in the theaters, the audience literally went crazy when she got into her kick-ass mode there towards the end. And I think that shows that her character was able to form a relationship with the audience. And I think that this is a really good performance. A really good performance. So I'm pleased that she's in our lineup. So definitely a strong contender if people really will stop and look at the difficulty in her performance. I think that it becomes that just much more of a special, great performance that doesn't really come along. This type of performance that requires so much doesn't come along that often. Next is Katharine Isabelle for her performance in American Mary. American Mary really was kind of the breakout independent film of the year. I mean, it ended up on several top 10 lists. It's nominated for Best Horror Movie. And the Soskas directed this film, and you can tell that they have a lot of passion for this film. I'm glad that Katharine Isabelle is among our nominees because she really is a genre veteran. She was in Freddy vs. Jason. She was in Ginger Snaps. Horror is a genre that she embraces. She's not an actress that shies away from taking a role in a horror film. I mean, people think most of her memorable performances are from horror films. So it's great that she got nominated. It's always great to see an actress that has appeared in horror films be recognized finally. I think her performance as Mary in American Mary, required. I think when they cast this role, they really had to find somebody that was going to be likable. And I think that Katharine Isabelle brings that girl next door likability factor to this role. She is just a desperate college student. She wants to make money. She, has bills like we all do. And we all hear about just different lengths that students, college students and whatnot go through to try to make money. And in her mind, what she does in the film was just basically for her survival. It wasn't that she enjoyed it. It wasn't that she was some sadistic sicko. She was basically doing this because she felt she needed to. And these people that she was serving wanted her service. And again, as I've mentioned before, I try not to spoil, put any spoilers in for people who haven't seen these films. So I think that Katharine Isabelle nailed that likability factor. She's a very likable character in this film. The only thing is, it does not have, and I just watched American Mary again last night. She doesn't have that one, and again, I talk about these types of scenes being an Oscar fan. We always talk about that one Oscar bait scene that an actor will have. Jane Levy has that Oscar bait scene at the end of Evil Dead. Katharine Isabelle doesn't really have that big scene. Her performance is pretty even keel throughout the film. And that's not a bad thing because, again, she's a likable character. You believe her. But, when you're sitting down as a voter to check off who you think gave the best performance, I think, you're in your mind, you're remembering, the particular scenes from each of these actors, which ones stand out. And I think that, American Mary is a great film. It has a lot of members that are passionate about it. And Katharine Isabelle would definitely be a worthy winner. But I just worry that because it's not a big flashy performance, that maybe people will underestimate the quality of performance that Isabelle gave in this film. Next is Mia Wasikowski in Stoker. I have to admit, I'm going to admit this. I was a little surprised that she made the final five, that she was nominated. Again, I said the same thing about Ron Livingston for a Best Supporting Actor. This does not. I'm not undermining these performances at all by saying these. This is my opinion. It's a good performance. Her performance, Mia's, may be even less flashy than Catherine Isabel's. Mia Wasikowski plays India Stoker. She is a character whose father just passed away, and out of the blue comes her uncle, Charlie Stoker, who is this charismatic, good-looking guy, and there's just something off about him and his. Here he is. He's the uncle. He's a family member, but he's just. If you haven't seen the film, I can't really say anything without spoiling it. He's just, I don't know, creepy. And here she is. She's trying to deal with her father's death, and dealing with this uncle who she sees something is just not right with him. And Mia is a good actress. Alice in Wonderland. The Kids Are Alright. She's given some good performances. I just don't think that this performance really required a lot from her. I think it was a very one-note, gloomy, depressed teenage sort of, I hate to say this, sort of Darlene Connor type teenager without the wit of a Darlene Connor. But I think that Mia gets into that role very well, and she gets into that mindset. And the depression and whatnot, we buy it. And then I do think towards the end of the film, she gets to do a little bit more. But again, Nicole Kidman and Matthew Good, particularly Matthew Good, we'll get to him when I talk about Best Actor. But I think that when you think about Stoker, his is going to be the performance that you remember. Mia was good, like I said, but I don't think there's enough maybe meat to her performance to justify her winning over some of these other nominees. Okay, next up, Vera Farmiga for The Conjuring. Vera's been nominated in the past. She was nominated for her performance in Orphan and Joshua. And, Vera is no stranger to the horror genre. She's, currently on Bates Motel, which I really think it's great that she took that role. Vera Farmiga in The Conjuring. Vera Farmiga is just an actress that I think is going to give anything to any performance that she gives. And I think that she did that with her performance as Lorraine in The Conjuring. Lorraine Warren is a character, and Edward and her husband, played by Patrick Wilson. These are the audience's kind of guides through what's going on, and we have to buy them as characters and believe that these are paranormal investigators who have seen so many things throughout their investigation, and we have to buy that. We have to buy that these just aren't kind of kooks who investigate stuff and are thriving off of hoaxes and whatnot. And I think Vera Farmiga brings to her character that that sternness and that strength that gets the audience to buy that this woman knows what she's doing and has really experienced some crazy stuff. Reminds me of, it's that strong female kind of Lin Shaye, who won for Insidious a couple years back. Kind of that same type of quality. No nonsense. She knows what she's doing. She knows that something otherworldly, paranormal exists. It's just how is she going to deal with what's happening in this family. Strong performance. Just overall, it's a great performance by Vera Farmiga. I think it's memorable. I love, there's a couple scenes that I really love with her. I think the scene where she falls down through the basement and ends up in the basement of the house is a good scene. Her looking into the music box, you can see that kind of fear on her face, in that still of her holding the music box. It's kind of that same thing with Jane Levy, that kind of iconic image now of her looking back and just seeing something, and you can just see the fear plastered on her face. I think that says a lot for an actress, that you can get so much out of just one still. And with Jane Levy and not with Vera Farmiga looking into that music box, You can just read on their face you don't need to know anything else about what's going on. You just know that something's not right. So I like Vera Farmiga. I like that she's nominated. Last but certainly not least, I should say, is Sharni Vincent for her performance in You're Next. I'm just going to say that out of all of our nominees in any category, this is the one that I was probably the most excited that made it, that was actually ultimately nominated. And I'll tell you why. You're Next, I loved You're Next. Again, I'm thrilled that it was nominated in the Best Horror Movie category. I wish it would have got more nominations. I think it was so deserving of many more nominations than it received. But Sharni Vincent in You're Next, I can tell you why I think this is a great performance, even people that might dismiss it. This is a throwback performance. I think anybody who grew up loving your slasher, your 80s, late 70s, early 80s slasher films like Halloween, Friday the 13th, God, name them, countless others, Final Exam, Happy Birthday to Me, films that had the strong female heroine. I think that Sharni Vincent's character and her performance is just a throwback to that type of character. This is basically a homage. Her performance and her role is a homage to Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween, Adrienne King in Friday the 13th, Amy Steele in Friday the 13th Part 2. A strong, kick-ass female final girl. We have not had, Neve Campbell, Scream, was probably the last kick-ass final girl I can think of. There hasn't been a kick-ass final girl in horror in I don't know how long. And Sharni Vincent, here she is. Nails this performance. If you haven't seen You're Next, this is your quintessential, probably one of the best final girls in horror slasher movie history. I'm going to say that right there. This is a girl, she's dealing with what's going on around her. They're at a remote house and just people start getting killed off. And I think even before the climax, when she turns into this kick-ass final girl, that she had some brilliant scenes, with her interaction between her and her boyfriend / fiance played by A.J. Bowen. I think there's some great stuff there, a great dynamic. But it's really towards the end of the film where she gets to shine and she gets to, it's a physically enduring role. But, she brings this strength and this no nonsense, I'm going to do what I need to do to survive. I don't care. You can tell she wants to survive. She's going to live. She's going to make it through no matter what she has to do. Much like the Jamie Lee Curtis and the Adrienne Kings. And I just love that about this performance. And she's great. Likeable. There's, layers to her performance that I think is just brilliant. So, those are your 5 nominees. Who's going to win? Find out February 22nd, right? I'll definitely am excited to find out who wins. Before I go, just a couple performances that narrowly missed the cut or I'm surprised weren't nominated. I think we have Saoirse Ronan for Byzantium. That was a great performance. Surprised it wasn't nominated. Kerry Russell for Dark Skies. Good performance from Kerry Russell. I think that the fact that the film was released so early on in the year might have hurt it. Amber Heard, All the Boys Love Mandy Lane. Good performance. And then even Chloe Grace Moritz for Carrie. I know that, again, a remake. People are, Julianne Moore got nominated. I think Chloe Grace Moritz's performance in Carrie was good. It wasn't Sissy Spacek, but she brought a whole new dimension to that character. It would have been, I think she would have been a worthy nominee. So, next up, I'm going to discuss Best Leading Actor. So, be on the lookout for that video. Again, thank you for listening to me. Again, if you're interested in serving on the Fright Meter Awards committee, visit our website, www.frightmeterawards.com. I will talk to you later. Bye.